Good morning, everyone. Our lesson for today is for Year 11 Health and Physical Education students. Today, we're going to talk about our emotional needs and to discuss ways of how to express our emotions. Just before our lesson starts, I just wanted to make sure that you have it with you, a pen and a notebook, so that you can do your note taking while the lesson proceeds.
Okay, as you see on the screen, those are the curriculum learning areas that our lesson is based on. The strand is active personal health and relationships. The sub-strand is identity and self-worth, and the key learning outcome is interacting and responding to other family members. Okay, so by the end of today's lesson, you will be able to define emotional needs, describe the positive and negative ways that people use to express emotions, and to discuss positive ways to communicate emotions. So those are the objectives or the key learning outcomes for our lesson. Next on the screen is to define some new words or the keywords. So if you have a dictionary, you can use it. So the first word is emotional needs. What is emotional needs? Emotional needs are needs that affect our feelings and sense of well-being. Next word is good communication skills. What are good communication skills? What is the meaning of good communication skills? Okay, good communication skills is to understanding instructions, asking questions, making requests, and relaying information with ease. And our last term is peer pressure. What is peer pressure? Peer pressure is the influence from members of one's peer group. For example, your peers pressure you to smoke cigarettes. Okay, those are some of the key terms that you need to know before we start our lesson. Okay, just before we start our lesson, I just want to think back on what we have done in this same topic last year in year 10. What are the types of emotions or feelings that you always notice or experience? What are types of emotions or feelings that you've always noticed or experienced? Very good. Affection, love, or care. Sa o le lei, o whalongona o le alofa, po le whataua, le lei te tamaiti. What others? Good. Concern. Concern is another feeling or emotion that you always experience. Awhasa moa, concern no winga o le whataua, langona le whatauaina o se mataupu. Ia po se vaenga foi o lo whatalanoaina. What else? Desire, delay, o lo nau tainga, o lo whamoemoenga foi. Or feelings, ia, tasina upu mwhai ona, tusa male upu emotions, ia, o le feelings po whalangona, po langona foi. Next question is, what are the types of emotions or feelings that you always notice or experience? Good, anger, ia, whaasa moina o lona winga, o leita, po le fia foi, leitele. What else? Happiness, fia, lei, sadness, o whanoa noa, o le joy, ia, a whaasa mo le joy o le mita, love, o le alofa, langona o le alofa. Any other? Okay, good. Grief, whaiona whaasa moina o le langona o le whawawau, po o le whanoa noa, po o se ainga o whawawau, ia ono le malanga fo i on maliu maleoti. Okay, so those are types of emotions. There are other types. There are lots and lots of types of emotion that you can feel and experience throughout your whole life. Next on the screen is the types of relationships. Just before our lesson starts, I want you to think back on the types of relationship that we have talked about last year at year 10. The question is, what are the two types of relationships that we talked about last year? What are the two types of relationships that we've talked about in last year. So I'll give you 5 seconds to think. Okay, time's up. And the first one is personal relationship. Very good. Later, uh, the first relationship is called personal relationship. So the question is, what is personal relationship? What is personal relationship? Okay, personal relationship refers to the person himself or herself involving a person's private life. Personal relationship refers to the person himself or herself involving a person's private life. Wala fasa moina ole tu a inga so ta inga pole so tanga pole whaialea e patino lava ia te oe lava e to tasi. E au fia ai mani whaamtalanga poni mata upu e na oe lava e te tau o nei loina. Ia ole winga na pole fasa mola na ole upu ole tatu term ole personal relationship. Lona whaapetania ma lona fasa moa ole fasa moa fulu na ole upu relationship mwhai ona whaapea ole so ta inga ia pole so tanga foi ia pole whaia foi. The second question is, what is the second type of relationship? What is the second type of relationship? Very good, students. Leitele. What is interpersonal relationship? What is interpersonal relationship? Good try. Good try. Okay. Interpersonal relationship is the relationship between people or between one person and another. For example, a relationship between you and your mother, or between you and your father, your siblings, your peers, and etc. Fasa moa, o le so tainga po o le so tanga po o le whaia lea i le vau oe ma le isi tangata. O se whaati tainga. O lo so tainga po lo so tanga lea o oe malutina ia po oe fo i maluta ma. O utua ngane, ia po utua whawhine, ia po oa uo fo. In your relationship within your peers, for example, are there any signs or actions or emotions or feelings that you and your peers have experienced during this relationship? Listen again. The question is, in your relationship with your peers, for example, are there any signs or actions or emotions or feelings that you and your peer have experienced during this relationship? Excellent. Very good. Yes, there are lots and lots of actions, emotions, and feelings that we have experienced during our relationship with other people. And that is what we are going to talk about today. Today, we're going to talk about emotional needs. We're going to talk about emotional needs and the way that people use to express their emotions. And of course, we're going to talk about the positive ways to communicate our emotion. But firstly, we're going to look at emotional needs. What are emotional needs? Emotional needs are needs that every human has to have. Every human has these basic emotional needs. For example, the need to love and be loved. We all need to feel that we are cared for, that there are those who think we are special. For example, our mother and father. We also have a need to care for others. When we love others, we feel better about ourselves. Another example of emotional need is the need to belong. We need to know that other people like us and accept us as part of a group. Our family is usually the first group that helps us satisfy this need to belong. As we grow up, there are many more groups that satisfies this need. For example, friends, social clubs, and sports team. And the third example is the need to feel worthwhile. The need to feel worthwhile. We need to feel that we make a difference in the world, that we are making a contribution. For example, when we help another person to do something or work on a community project, it makes us feel that we are contributing. This increases our feeling of self-worth. Now, we're going to talk about negative ways of meeting emotional needs. Negative ways of meeting emotional needs. People are always trying to meet their emotional needs even when they aren't aware of it. When these needs are not met, some people may find unhealthy way to meet them. For example, teasing or making fun of others, when there is an audience, pulling or picking on others. These people may be trying to get their needs met, but in an unhealthy way. The comic show off. They think that they acting as they do it is the only way they can get recognition. A person who is mentally healthy looks for healthy and positive ways to satisfy their emotional needs. To fulfill the need to love and be loved, a person might adopt a homeless animal like a cat or dog and take care of it. Okay, let's now talk about emotions. A person's emotions or feelings also affect our mental health. Our emotions are a natural part of our life. Our emotions can protect us from danger or help us achieve a goal. Everyone has emotions, and we have many different emotions like anger, happiness, sadness, and guilt, as we discussed earlier in our lesson. Our emotions are a natural part of life, and our emotions can protect us from danger or help us achieve a goal. Everyone has emotions, and we have many different emotions like anger, happiness, sadness, and guilt. And the question is, how do we express our emotions? How do we express our emotions? There are no wrong emotions. There are no wrong emotions. However, the way people choose to express their emotions may be different from others. The way we express emotions may also differ from culture to culture. Some cultures allow people to show their emotions freely, and others expect people to hide their emotions. How about our Samoan culture? Do people freely express their emotions? A person who is mentally healthy will choose healthy and responsible way to express their emotions. An important step in learning to express your emotions in a healthy way is to become aware of it. This is not always easy because we can confuse one emotion with another. Okay, what about unhealthy emotions? What are examples of unhealthy emotions? Good try. Anger is one emotion that is often confused with other emotions. Students might say, I hate you, or I don't want to see you again. What they mean is they are angry with that person. Anger is one emotion that can lead to violent and disruptive behavior if it is unchecked and not dealt with it quickly. It is important to acknowledge and recognize its signs and symptoms. Many young people may feel anger towards their parents, other adults, or peers. Many young people may feel anger towards their parents, other adults, and peers, but do not know how to express their feelings, so they hold this emotion inside. The longer they are angry about something, the more violent they may become when they express that emotion or feeling. For example, they may express it by breaking or ruining things, or by hitting other children, or by picking on people weaker than themselves. Anger is one of the emotions that is often the cause of crisis situations amongst teenagers. Okay, now let's have an activity. Our activity one. Our activity is to discuss how you can learn to release your anger and deal with angry feelings in a healthy way. Use one of these verses from the Bible as a basis of your discussion, and the verses do not say not to be angry or to deny that you are feeling angry, but to be careful what you do when you are angry. So the verses from the Bible, example, the book of Ephesians, uh, chapter 4, verses 26 says, in your anger do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. Another version from the Bible is from the book of James, chapter 1, verses 19 says, my dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. For man's anger does not bring about the righteous life that God desires. Okay, you can discuss how can you relieve your anger based on these verses from the Bible. If you have friends around you, or your siblings around you, you can discuss it with them and then reflect back after 5 minutes. That is the end of our activity one, and I hope you've learned a lot and you learned something new, and especially how to release your anger in a healthy way. So, next to our lesson are the learning and practicing good communication skills. Learning and practicing good communication skills. So, as you see on the screen, those are some of the ways that you can do to help relieve your anger or your pressure or something that disappoints you or an issue that you've been facing. And those are some of the things that you can do to relieve your anger. And with that previous activity, you can also practice those during that activity. So good communication is always a two-way process. Learning and practicing good communication skills. Good communication is always a two-way process. It is an exchange where the person giving the message does so in a very clear manner, so that the person receiving the message understands it clearly and gives some feedback to show that the message got through. This works well when we are giving information or having discussions in a classroom setting or a business meetings, etc. And now we're going to talk about communicating our emotion. How do we communicate our emotion? I hope that picture will make you understand more about what we're going to discuss. It is difficult to give clear messages because people respond to situations and show feelings differently from each other. However, when it comes to communicating our emotions, it is difficult to give clear messages because people respond to situations and show feelings differently from each other. For example, a person might worry that they have hurt a friend because of something they did or said, and then he or she finds out that the person was not hurt at all. There are times that people get angry and say, I'm not angry, but they slam a door or kick the dog and show by their actions that they are angry. Someone might get some bad news and say, I'm okay, but then they won't talk to anyone for several days. So those are examples of showing your or communicating your emotions differently. Our feelings are communicated through our words, our tone of voice, and the way we say things, and through our body language. So when conveying our feelings, our words seems to be the least important part of the conversation. So the way we say something and our tone of voice together with our body language or body movements actually speak louder than our words do. That is why it is possible to give confused or mixed messages when we express our feelings. And now we're going to talk about good communication skills. What are examples of good communication skills? Communication skills are not always easy to learn, but are important for healthy and happy life because many problems that teenagers have faced today are results of poor communication or miscommunication. When trying to communicate to another person how we feel about something, we need to remember what it is that we want them to know already. We are not trying to tell them what we think they already know. That is why we should always start our conversation with I think or I feel and etc. So when we start a conversation by using you, example, you make me feel or you said and etc. It sounds like an accusation and the other person may turn off and not listen. So how do we express our feelings? When we express our feelings, when we express our feelings or let another person know how we feel about something, we release them and it gives us a feeling of peace. As you see the picture on the screen, that is an example of how you express your feelings in a healthy way. And worrying about others and worrying about how others are thinking about us or about things we have said or done can result in sleepiness and stress. Mafuai na le ai se file mu o le mafaufau. Yeah, a good example of that is on the second picture on your right. Okay, let's have a look at some of the skills for communicating our feelings. What are the skills that we need to communicate our feelings? Think about the words that we are going to use. When we talk to another person, begin our sentence with I. Try not to use you. This helps you to focus on your part in the situation or problem. Tell the other person what have happened and state our feelings. Check our body language and make sure what we are saying is the same message that our body, for example, your eyes, tone of your voice, the hands, body movements, is sending. Listen to what the other person has to say. Don't allow our minds to wander while the other person is talking. Remember, it doesn't matter whether the other person responds or refuses to listen or is unwilling to show their real feelings. What is important is that we have communicated our feelings in a healthy way so that we can feel good about ourselves. And now we come to the